The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Good afternoon. Welcome to another edition of Table Topics. I'm John Sylvia here with Carlos, and if you're seeing this show on a day other than Tuesday, it's probably a repeat. I think that's good enough for this one.
And for that, I give you a 4.
All right, well, it's better than a gong.
Welcome back to Table Topics. It's another edition of our show. And we are here in studio. If you're watching us through your TV, it's because you are connected to channel 95, and this is your community channel. Studios right here at BCC College. And if you're watching us on your Facebook or YouTube, we do have those channels available too, just in case, if you are tuned with those. New shows comes on Wednesday nights. We tape the show on Tuesday nights, and the show comes on Wednesday nights. This way, give us the producers time to load the shows into the system, and then put them online for everybody to watch. Okay. Very interesting week in the city. I attended the. I think the talk of the town right now is it's Boston train or Fall River train. You know, that's the question. Unfortunately, on this one, we not on the same vote. No. He's in favor. Against it.
Yes.
And he has his reasons. I have my reasons. I will never change his mind. No. He will never change mine.
Correct.
But we could have a discussion about, and we can have an educated conversation. I'm pretty sure that we're not going to yell at the table, and I'm pretty sure we're going to still be friends after this half hour.
Yeah, yeah, and actually...
That's what did happen at the last election.
Yeah.
A lot of families...
Oh, yeah, broke up. Yeah, no, I know, which is ridiculous, but yeah.
Yeah, so I attended the meeting, so you didn't have a chance to attend it.
Like I told you, I've attended those when there were 4 people there, because it was like a pie in the sky kind of thing back in the 90s, the 2000s. Well, it was really, I should say, starting in the 2000s for me, because I was working up there, so I was more interested. But that was 20 years ago. I remember going to the meetings. It's going to happen. We get a new administration in. Deval Patrick comes in. We're going to do it. He leaves. So it finally, I mean, I personally won't believe it until next year when the train comes in. There's a train station that says Fall River right now. They've paid the parking lot, but until it comes in and you can get on that, go to Boston, I won't believe it. So I'm a pessimist.
So one of the things, and probably it's a good question for you, because you've been involved on this. I've been hearing about.
Yeah.
Never got involved. Yeah. Never attended meetings because, you know, from day one I never believed it on it. But I never believed that that would ever happen.
Exactly.
But since that you attended, why just now we found out that we need to vote for this?
I believe because they didn't really believe it was going to happen. You know, this has been something that I think even if they did have that in the back of mind, there was so much support for this all the way. So why would they think at like the final hour they would be pushed to say we don't want this now? It was unbelievable. All the, you know, we had all the mayors that were in favor of this. We had councils that were in favor of this. We had all the state reps. We had the state senator. We had the governors that were always like, this is the last city. New Bedford and Fall River are the last big cities in the Commonwealth that don't have direct access to Boston.
So according to what you just said, they just forgot one person, the one that was going to pay for it.
Yeah, well, it's already been, well, I mean, the people that,
Sure, we paid them to be on the table.
Yeah, well,
taking positions like that.
Well, no, not
stuff.
really, because I think the majority of people, you know, somebody like you back then, you wouldn't have really even cared about it. Me, I was working up there, so it was another option. If it came, it was another option to get to work. But it was an option of that you can live down here and not have a car, because you could just walk across the street, go to work, get on the train, walk there. So it's trying to bring, you know, we always complain how bad Fall River is, right? Everybody complains how bad Fall River is. So if you have one group of people all the time, so say you have a group of rich people like Newport, the majority of folks are rich. You're either rich or poor in Newport. But if you have one group all the time, that doesn't make a diverse city. And you know, diversity is used as a different term now, but we have diversity of thought, we have diversity of socioeconomic conditions. So the thing with Fall River is that we were always a very poor city. You know, we had a low income rate. So when people used to complain and say, you probably know this on Facebooks, why don't we have you know, this restaurant, or why don't we have this store? Well, they look at the demographics, they look at the income. So Fall River had incomes of $25,000, a median income. Starbucks ain't coming to town with a $25,000 median income, because people are barely surviving. They're not going to buy a $5 coffee or $4 coffee. So with that, we've seen the salaries go up in this city, and I believe a lot of part of that is these market-based housing units, which everybody is making seem like it's this terrible thing. Market-based housing, it's a terrible thing. It's not. We need to have a group of every different people in this city, you know, whether it's moderate income, low income, and we need to have people that have some money, because those are the people, no matter what people say, they're like, those are the people that don't pay taxes, this, that, and the other thing. Those are the people that buy things. And I'll never forget this. I was in Newport, walking on a dock there behind one of the timeshares, and this guy was like, had his boat there, and he says, you know what, everybody says, forget the rich, they don't need us. It's like, he says, I work for a boating company. It's rich people that buy these boats, and I wouldn't have a job, and they're paying taxes to the local economy. So, you know what, you'll eventually, if you work hard, this is still America. If you work hard, you can still get somewhere. So that's what I look at this. We need people, we need to have more market housing. We already have 10 to 12% of subsidized housing or very low income housing. Yes, do we need to have some kind of moderate income? We do, but the economy in Fall River and New Bedford is not only based on this. I can tell you one big specific thing. When I moved here when I was in high school, when I moved here, I don't know how many friends I had that there was a 3-family. It was grandma on the first floor, the parents on the second floor, and their uncle and aunt on the third floor. And they were all paying $300 a month or $250 because the houses were $100,000 and the family came together. So if they got laid off, it was fine. Those days are gone. People, young kids like yours don't want to own a 3-family and rent it out to people.
So
so there's where a lot of our affordable housing is gone, right?
Let me
Am I right?
Let me pick up in some things that you said.
Okay.
Fall River always had rich and poor. Always had.
I don't know if there's ever rich here.
If you had a job in Fall River 30 years ago, you were rich.
But it's relative. It's relative. When I was a kid, I thought people that owned a house were rich. So it's all relative.
But back then, you were rich if you own a 3-decker. You're rich.
No, I don't think you were rich.
You're rich because you own your own property.
Well, people didn't own their property, Carlos. They had mortgages, and they had people that were not paying them the rent. You know what I mean? They were helping their children out.
And they still do today. So what I'm seeing now is we need to bring rich people in. So if you don't care about the ones that was living in here and they born here, and you want to change, you want to kick them out and bring rich people in, then you think you're doing something for the city to benefit the city?
Nobody's kicking people out, Carlos. Nobody's kicking people out. These market-based housing things, it's supply and demand. People are taking this. There's no money in making affordable housing. We had a development in the North End called Rolling Green. So you could live there. You were on Section 8. It was moderate. You paid $300 or $400. We had the developments on Milliken Boulevard, those high rises. Those were for moderate income or affordable housing. There's no money in that because as soon as they paid their federal loans off, right, because they had to do that for the 30 years they had their federal loans, then what did they do? They went and got market-based housing. So Roland Green, which was called Roland Green, I think it's some other name now, but those apartments are going for $2,500 for a 3-bedroom. People would probably pay $700 back in the day. So this is what it is. You know, you're a landlord. You want to make money. Right?
Here's the thing. Point Gloria.
Yeah.
30 years ago, you could not afford an apartment in Point Gloria.
Yes, you could. Point Gloria, you could. Point Gloria, what happened was we had that big crash. Point Gloria, there were people that were living there on Section 8 certificates. And
now we have.
No, not now. There's a lot more owner-occupied there. Back then, they couldn't because the economy collapsed, and they couldn't get people to buy condos. You know, so what they did was people that bought them just rented them out.
So all this new developments and all these investors that are coming out of town, okay, they don't even know what Fall River is on a map. They just know Fall River because they buying cheap to make money, to make profits. You don't think that all that's going to collapse too?
No. No, because the people, then they'll have to lower their rents. There'll be supply and demand. Then people will get a real nice apartment then for $1,000.
Then what happened to them? That's the discussion. What happened to them?
That's their business.
What happened to Point Gloria? It's the same thing.
Well, that'll be their business then. That's their business. This is the thing,
So-
when people are saying this is what I get frustrated with, Carlos, and I'm not yelling, so don't take it as that. Nobody complains when we see these new construction properties like that are going up. One going up near me with like a 1-car driveway, which they're supposed to have 2, and they sold it for $469.
No, I complain all the time.
That should have gone.
I attend the meetings
That
too.
should probably go for $220, really, in a couple of years back. But this is the same thing. People are moving. So should we say you can't live there because it's $469? Somebody that can only afford $200 can't move in there. No, it's supply and demand.
And believe me, some of those permits should not even be allowed. Some of those license zonings should not even be allowed. And this is, we talk about this all the time. You know, it's like a house on top of a house.
That's what I'm getting at. It's the whole situation.
But that's the thing. Now, the way they've been selling this for 30 years.
Yep.
Okay. First, they started by our students. Oh, the big help would be for our students to go to school in Boston.
Well, you could go to school in Bridgewater. There's a stop right there.
We don't have the traffic. We don't have enough kids graduating in Fall River that going to go to Boston and take trains to Boston.
Bridgewater, it's right on the train stop. They could go to Bridgewater.
I don't think we will have. So we're not going to have enough traffic from students on that train like people sell out.
Maybe not.
Okay?
Maybe you are not going to have 5 trainfuls of kids.
Another thing is people are going to shop in Boston.
Yep.
You believe that people are going to go from Fall River, you know, once a week. I'm not going to put them every day on the train. I'm going to put it once a week to go to the markets in Boston and buy a $3,000 suit.
No, I don't believe that, but I believe people personally. I know for myself, a couple months back, I had to drive up to my old office to get my new ID. I was there for a total of 30 minutes. What do you think they charged me to park? $30. So if I want to go see...
I went to court enough times.
What?
I went to court enough times in Boston.
So my thing is, that was for 30 minutes. If I were to stay for 4 hours, I think it was like $60. So what I would do is, if I wanted to go to a Celtics game, I would take the train. Because if it's $2 to park or whatever, even if it's $5, the train fare, the driving up there.
How many you think will do that?
I think a lot of people will do that because it's cheaper. You're not going to get aggravated. You're going to save your gas with gas going to $5 or $6 an hour.
How you going to transit between the train station and the place you're going?
Well, isn't that lovely you said that? Because I used to do that every day for 10 years. So the train's going to get off at South Station. South Station, there is stuff around there that you can go to the South End, the Children's Museum, all that stuff is there. Other than that, if you were to go to North Station where the Celtics game is, I do one of 2 things. If I had a lot of time, I'd walk up. It's a mile. and everybody's walking in Boston, so it's no problem. Or at South Station, you get off. I'd get on the Red Line train, go to, it's like the next stop, I think, is State or whatever. Anyway, you could do that and then switch. So you switch on the subway. That's all.
So this guy that lives next to my door
Yeah.
uses a blue sign on his windshield because he needs to stop as close as possible to the door to go to the market.
Yeah.
Now he's going to go on a train and he's going to walk a mile in Boston.
He wouldn't, Carlos, he wouldn't go take a car to Boston and go to the Celtics game, because if you park on a parking deck, you're going to have to walk. So that's...
I'm just putting different situations on the plate.
That's not going to happen.
Another big thing is economic development.
Yes.
This is going to be a huge economic development for Fall River.
I don't know if it's going to be a huge economic development.
But that's how they sell it. That's why after the meeting I went to her. I said, we don't have economic development to offer to these people that's going to come from Boston.
But it's going to come. It's going to come, right?
But so yes. Finally, the carousel, it's open again.
Yeah.
That was 20 years ago. That was going to be a bloom of economic development for Fall River.
I mean, I would, you know what, one day I would like to see, and maybe when I retire someday, I'd like to see somebody do a tour in Fall River. Fall River Celebrates. They had a tour years ago. It went to Lizzie Borden Bed and Breakfast. They went and looked at it. It went to the Oak Grove Cemetery, showed you the areas there.
We talked about potentials in
So,
Fall River. We talked a lot about potentials in Fall River.
So there's,
the problem is we don't have one group working with the other group.
Exactly.
Okay? We have a disconnection.
Yeah.
Everybody's putting the money on the train.
Yeah.
But nobody is working in economic development, which we've been talking about for years.
Well, this is one part of it, Carlos. This is one part.
But again, one needs to work with the other. If you're going to put one and not put the other, if you're going to build a house and not put a roof, the house it's gone in 10 years.
Well, I mean, then you're not. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying that. I agree with you. But in the interim, you got to just try to keep on going with something then, and maybe it all jump together at one time. So
everything collapse.
No, it's not going to collapse.
Everything collapse.
It's not going to collapse.
Now on the other side, John, on the other side, let's put opposite. Now a guy that pays $4,000 rent in Boston and can afford a $2,000 apartment in Fall River, sure, he's going to use the train to come to Fall River. And he's going to spend 2 days in Fall River? No.
On the weekend he will. On the weekend he will.
I don't think.
On the weekend he will. Why is he going to go to Boston where he works?
He's going to enjoy a good Portuguese steak in a Portuguese restaurant.
Why wouldn't he? Because you want to become part of the community.
But that's it.
Well, he'll gas his car up. He'll go to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks.
He'll
go to Chick-fil-A.
Another example.
He'll go to the Cove.
This guy has a nice job in Boston, and is used to go to theaters, go to fancy restaurants because he can afford. He has a good job. Now he funds a $2,000 apartment in Fall River. He's going to save that money. He's going to move to Fall River. After he comes from work, he's going to take a shower. You think he's going to go back to Boston again for those nights that he spends out?
I can tell you, as someone that worked up there for 10 years, the last thing you want to do is go up there on the weekend. Because I would have people that worked, that got married and stuff like that. The last thing I want to do is go up there.
What that has to do in Fall River?
Well, but when you get people here, that creates people wanting to do it. People in the city, I mean, all we have to do is look at New Bedford. And I got frustrated because people will say things like, and you probably heard this, in Fall River, we don't have a theater like New Bedford has the Zeiterion. And you know what they say? Because the majority of people that are still here are Portuguese. And Portuguese people don't like the arts. That's BS, because New Bedford's, a lot of Portuguese, and they have a theater
and
there.
They go from Fall River to New Bedford.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So, and I've gone to concerts at the Zeiterion and things. So it's just that I don't believe any of that. It's just we haven't come up with a plan to do this. We haven't come up with a plan to do this. That's the biggest issue. Because by far, New Bedford, their downtown, I like a lot better than Fall River's downtown. It's just nice to walk around. They got the cobblestones. Why don't we have cobblestones in Fall River? You know what I've been told? Why we don't have it? Because cars might get wrecked. There are cobblestones in Nantucket. There are cobblestones in Martha's Vineyard. There are cobblestones in New Bedford. Why are we doing this? Maybe it'll slow people down. And if they don't get slowed down, they break their axle, they have no car. Problem solved.
I'm not even going to sell you a city that's all cobblestone.
Well, yeah,
the entire city.
Well, that's what I mean, right? So, you know, we get
So,
these excuses all the time.
But here's the thing. I'm not against the train.
Yep.
I'm just saying that the way the setup is right now, we're not ready for a train. They're going to benefit more than we're going to benefit. That's why I call them the Boston train, not a Fall River train. They're going to benefit. They're going to have the low rents. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? They're going to benefit, not us. So because we don't have, you know, what we need to accept that. That's the same thing that tomorrow we say we're going to have a cruise ship in Fall River every day. Yeah. So what do we have to give to these people that's going to come on a cruise ship every day?
We don't have that yet. However, Carlos, I can tell you this.
Another 30 years, John?
No, I'm not saying that. If there becomes people wanting to do that, it'll happen. But with you saying that, the people that are going to benefit are more the people here. You're not going to get a lot of people to come down here. And I know by working there for 10 years, when I would talk to people, and this is going back 10 years when I worked up there, I would say, why don't you move? It's more affordable. They're like, I do not want to do that commute you do. There's no way. I don't want to do it. On the train, it's going to be an hour and 45 minutes. That's why I was like, the train, but it's another option. No, people up there aren't going to do that. They're not going to come down here to save $1,000 a month. They're not doing it. For people here, they look at it and go, you know what? I can make $100 grand in Boston as opposed to 50 grand here by going up there. It's going to be putting me out by going up on that commute, but in the end, it's going to be worth it to me. Those are the people. You're not going to get, families aren't going to come up here from Belmont and all these towns. They're not going to do it. It's going to be younger people moving down here.
But all this housing, all this housing that are being built, is for people that.
But they're already all full, Carlos.
Boston.
Carlos, they're already all full. They have waiting lists. I know a family member that just sold their house, and they were looking for. They're from Dartmouth. They're looking for apartments here. All these apartment complexes they called, they're all full. They couldn't get it. You know what I'm trying to say? So it's already here because this is what happened years ago, right? We had Boston folks were coming down here, but they were going to Brockton, right? So that whole area went down to Brockton, Raynham, Taunton. Now it's getting expensive up there, so they're coming down here now because they can't afford to live up there. So that's happening no matter what anyway. That's happening no matter what. The train is not going to bring any more people than what we've had come down already. It's not going to happen.
So, I mean, that's now what they're selling. They're selling that we're going to have a lot of people with money moving over here. But that's besides the point. That's
I don't think it's going to be a big...
That's how they're selling. Now, you know that Fall River, it's known by, at least Fall River, this area, from free stuff. Yeah. People are coming here for free stuff from everywhere.
We're the land of hills, bills, hills.
And freebies.
No, it was like, what is it? It's hills... something and unpaid bills. Anyway, it's something stupid they said.
How many you think?
Michelle, help me out. What is that? The land of hills? Something.
I don't know.
Whatever.
But how many people you think that's going to use the train to come for those free services?
I don't. People aren't going to come down here. If you live in Boston, you're going to get some people that, like, you know, you have, like now. This is the thing that gets me with people.
So in Boston, they have poor people too.
Yeah.
If you don't have a good job in Boston, okay, and you know that in Fall River, we will give you a check under the table that we're going to pay for your electric, we're going to pay for your rent, you're going to pay for everything. You don't think that people will jump on that train?
If you live in Fall River, somebody in Fall River is under that same situation, they're not going to move to Boston. They're not going to move to...
No, they're moving from Boston here by bus.
Yeah.
By taxi.
Yeah, but that's not...
Now they have the train.
They're moving. People are moving all over. People on the Cape. The Cape is the same way. People are moving to all different areas where they can find affordable areas to live. And that happens when, say, a woman's battered or something. They look up. You become homeless. They look for a shelter anywhere in the state. And then when you get in there, you're first on a priority list to get into housing. So you become homeless here. You might end up in Leominster or Lowell or Lawrence. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't see... I still, and I have conversations about, and nobody is able to change my opinion on this. I think the way we have our setup the way, what do we have to offer, I think this train just gonna hurt us.
Yeah.
It's going to hurt us for 10 years. Maybe in 10 years we have all this economic development and all this theaters and all this stuff. The people that enjoy their nights out, maybe. Right now, I don't see. This is part of a puzzle, and it's a piece of the puzzle. We don't have the entire game on the table. Okay,
well,
we have no plans.
But maybe
we have no plans.
But maybe this will push it. So before I forget, because you can go back and tell your people on this. Fall River, Brockton, they did nothing, by bringing the train in, nothing happened to Brockton. Nothing happened to Brockton, right? So people down here love to complain about Brockton, right? So the train did do something to Brockton. Right now, our median income is like $46,000. Brockton, $68,000. And everybody complains how bad Brockton is, but they make more than $20,000 their median income is than ours. So, with everything comes good and bad. I totally get it. With everything comes good and bad. You know what I mean? But to me, there's more positives than negatives on this. When you write it down on this list, the pros are better than the cons, at least in my opinion. I respect whatever your opinion is.
Yeah, no, in my opinion, it's opposite. I think it's more bad than good. You know, the problem is we already spent $900 million.
I think it's going to be $1 billion, but I think we spent 90%
we
of it.
We
like
about $900
right.
million.
Sorry, correction.
What's something that that we didn't agree yet to do it, because just now we're going to agree to do it.
That's the final thing. You know what I mean?
It's the final. Yeah. You're going to call me to do the shingles on your house, okay? And I'm going to do the shingles on the roof, and then send you the bill, and you're going to tell me, I didn't told you to change the roof, but it was leaking.
Yeah, but
and you said, no, but I didn't give you.
That's different.
I didn't told you to fix it.
That's different.
That's exactly what happened.
They knew they had support. They knew they had support. And this all comes back to when you say Fall River free. That's what it is. Anytime we find out anything's going to cost 1 penny, and now mind you, 60 to 70% of our education budget is coming from the state of Massachusetts. These other towns aren't the same way. So, we always want something for nothing. Unfortunately, I can say that because I've been here for 35 years now, but not everybody, but we have a lot of people that think we should have everything for nothing. And, if you look at it, Fall River gets 60% of their income from the state. That means you're low income. If you're a person, that would be someone that's on subsidized everything.
And to finish is, you're not going to pay for the train. Guess what? You're paying for the train. Yeah. You've been paying for a long time.
We're paying for it now.
For a long time.
We've been paying for it.
You've been paying for that train for a long time.
We've been paying for it since it started. You know what I mean?
Are you going to stay paying just what you pay now? 10 years from now? We don't know.
Well, Carl, I'll talk to you about that differently. All right.
And that's another show of the Table Topics. And today was the Boston train versus Fall River train.
All right.
See you next week.
All right. I think I get that.